Hello, my name is Dr. Muhammad Misbah Shaheen. In this lecture, I will talk about clinical consideration of composite resin restoration. In previous lecture, I talked about the following points, which were composition of composite resin, types of composite resin, indication and contraindication of composite restoration, advantages and disadvantages of composite restoration, recent advancement in composite resins, indirect composite resins, mode of supply and method of polymerization. In today's lecture, I will discuss the following points which are different types of curing lamps or devices, classification of LED curing light, optical safety, degree of conversion, polymerization shrinkage, configuration factor, reduction of residual stresses, clinical restorative techniques of composite restoration, causes of failure of composite restoration, repair of composite restoration, comparison between composite and amalgam restorations. Let's talk about curing lamps. There are two curing systems which we are using in dentistry. One is UV light. It is discovered in 1970, also called Nuva light. Its wavelength is 360 to 400 nanometer, and the other system is visible light. There are four types of light curing unit, and their wavelength is in the range of 440 to 490 nanometers. In the picture you can see the different parts of a curing device. There is a light guide, trigger switch, optic pipe, tungsten halogen bulb, transformer, cooling system, cooling air outlet, cooling fan motor, voltage stabilizer and timing circuit. First of all, I will talk about quartz tungsten halogen unit. It is conventional halogen curing lamp. For example, Opti less 500. Halogen curing light replaced the UV curing light. Its advantages are less cost, simple, well-known technology, and little or no heat production. How the quartz tungsten halogen unit works. It is most widely used dental curing lamp. Consists of a quartz bulb with a tungsten filament in a halogen environment. Electric current passes through an extremely thin tungsten filament which at about 3000 degrees centigrade produces electromagnetic radiation in the form of visible light. There is a quartz. It encases the structure. It is encasing structure, crystalline in form, and it is heat resistant. Inside it there is a filament coil which is made by tungsten, through which electricity flows, and inside this glass there is a halogen gas which protects filament, redeposits tungsten to filament. Its advantages are less cost, simple, well-known technology, little or no heat. Disadvantages are slow curing time, plug into electricity, large cumbersome, decreased output, replaced by lamps, replaced by other curing lamps. And we have to replace its lamp. It looks like this. You can see picture of quartz tungsten halogen bulb unit in the picture. Next unit is plasma arc unit. 2 tungsten electrodes, pressurized chamber contain xenon gas. High voltage spark, it ionizes xenon gas. Its advantages are curing time is less, up to 3 seconds. Short procedure, high intensity. Disadvantages are heat production, high cost, large and bulky. Next unit is argon laser units. Its advantages are correct wavelength, deeper and faster curing, better mechanical properties, decreased sensitivity to curing tip distance, less post-operative sensitivity and discomfort. Disadvantages are increased shrinkage, brittleness, marginal leakage, heat increase on surface, expensive and bulky equipment. Next is the LED units, which are most widely used units nowadays. It is narrow emission spectrum, 440 to 480 nanometer, peak at 470 nanometer, near absorption, maximum activation of camphoquinone. It is very efficient. Advantages are cordless, lightweight, long lasting, no heat production, moderate curing time and quiet. There is no noise of this unit. Disadvantages are it's a new technology, so operator should have knowledge how to use it. Slower than plasma arc unit. Batteries must be recharged. Higher cost and low intensity. No, let's talk about classification of LED light curing lights. First generation is high cost, has high cost, low irradiance, which is less than 300 microwatt per centimeter square, increase exposure time. Second generation is single large surfaced emitting LED chips, lower cost, higher irradiance, more than 600 microwatt per centimeter square, similar to halogen, high heat production. Now, what is irradiance? Irradiance is number of photons per second emitted by a light source per unit area of the curing tip. Its formula is microwatt over centimeter square. No, third generation is one or more low powered chips that emit a second frequency. Next is optical safety. Do not look directly at light. Protection recommended. Glasses shields may impair ability to match tooth shades, retinal damage. Degree of conversion. Percentage of carbon-carbon double bonds that have been converted to single bond to form polymeric resin. Higher the degree of conversion, higher the strength, wear resistance and other properties of composite resin. Now, let's talk about polymerization shrinkage. As I have discussed, if we are using light cure composite resin, the shrinkage will be towards the light source, and if we are using chemically cured or self cure composite resin, shrinkage will be towards the center. Value of the shrinkage, which we have seen different composite, is 1 to 4%, and stresses which are created are almost 17 megapascal. Polymerization shrinkage prevents bonding to dentine, causes stress to develop externally, interface of restoration and tooth, internally between fillers and resin. What can be caused by polymerization shrinkage? It can cause marginal staining, micro leakage, secondary caries, enamel micro cracks, post-operative sensitivity, debonding. All these results in failure of composite restoration. What are the factors affecting stress development? Number 1 is this restorative technique, modulus of resin elasticity, polymerization rate, and cavity configuration factor. What is configuration factor? So what is C factor? C factor is the relation between the number of surfaces bonded divided by the number of surfaces unbonded. As the configuration factor goes up, the effects of the polymerization stress and strain become more significant in maintaining marginal seal. As I have told, configuration factor is bonded walls divided by unbonded walls. During curing, shrinkage leaves the bonded surfaces in a state of stress, while the free surfaces relax some of the stresses by contracting inward toward the bulk of the material. The higher the C factor, greater is the potential for bond disruption from polymerization effects. Use of increment and layering technique will help in minimize the polymerization shrinkage. Cavity class 4 have minimum C factor which could be 0.5 if two bonded surfaces are 2 and unbonded surfaces are 4. As you can see in the picture on left side, there is only 2 bonded surfaces, which are floor of the tooth, pulpal floor, and mesial distal proximal wall, and the unbonded surfaces are 4, which are buccal, lingual, incisor, and proximal. So it has 0.5 C factor, and if the class 4 cavity is in this form, then it will have only 0.25 configuration factor, which is very less. It only have one bonded surface, which is floor of the tooth, pulpal floor, and 4 unbonded surfaces, which are buccal, lingual, proximal, and incisor. If we talked about cavity class 3 cavity, the C factor will be 1, because there are 3 bonded surfaces and 3 unbonded surfaces. In the picture you can see 3 unbonded surfaces and 3 unbonded surfaces. If we talk about class 2 cavity, the C factor will be 2 because there is 4 bonded surfaces and 2 unbonded surfaces. And class 4 and or class 5 cavity has very high C factor, which is 5, because class 1 and class 5 cavity have 5 bonded surfaces and only 1 unbonded surfaces. In the picture you can see class 4 will have very low stress, and class 1 and 5 will have high stress. Now how to reduce the residual stresses, polymerization shrinkage. There are two methods to reduce the polymerization shrinkage. One is clinical techniques, and other one is manufacturer. By manufacturer, if we look by manufacture, the reduction in volumetric contraction by alternation of chemistry of the resin, we can use those monomer who have less polymerization shrinkage, like Celoran or Moser. And there are certain clinical techniques. If we follow those techniques, we can reduce polymerization shrinkage. These techniques are: control the curing rate, incremental buildup, control the C factor, resin based composite system, dentine enamel adhesive system, using materials which flows, material with low modulus of elasticity, introduction of air bubbles, use of stress breaking liners such as RM resin modified GIC glass vinyl ceramic or flowable composite. In this chart we can see different characteristic properties of different types of composite available in the market. If we look upon the curing shrinkage, unfilled acrylic resin has very high shrinkage, which is 8 to 10%. Traditional composite have less shrinkage. Small particle sized composite have 2 to 3% shrinkage. Hybrid composite also have 2 to 3% volumetric shrinkage, and microfilled composite have almost 3 to 4% shrinkage. No, the clinical techniques, how we can do a composite restoration. The steps of the restoration are: local anesthesia. First of all, we will give local anesthesia to patient. Second step is preparation of the operating site, shade selection of the composite, isolation. For isolation, we can use rubber dam, cotton rolls, gingival retraction cord, pre-operative wedges. What is the design for composite restoration? Conventional design. Conventional tooth preparation are those typical for amalgam restoration. Walls in butt joint junction 90 degree with the restorative material. Indications are preparations located on root surfaces, moderate to large class 1 or class 2 restorations. Beveled conventional. It is indicated when a composite restoration is being used to replace an existing restoration exhibiting a conventional tooth preparation design with enamel margin or to restore a large area. The outline forms has external box-like walls but with some bevel enamel margins. This design is most typical for class 3, class 4 and class 5 restorations. Modified preparations are also called scoped out preparation. Modified preparations are indicated for the initial restoration of smaller cavitated carious lesions, usually surrounded by enamel, and for correcting enamel defects. In picture you can see box-like preparation. This design is indicated when only proximal surface is faulty with no lesion present on the occlusal surface. The other design of preparation is facial or lingual slough. This design is for restoring proximal lesions on posterior teeth. No, shade selection. Composite shade is selected by working with a clean, moist tooth prior to placement of a rubber dam. Shade selection should be done prior to prolonged drying of teeth because dehydrated tooth becomes lighter in shade as a result of decrease in translucency. Samples from the shade guide should be applied parallel with the tooth whose color is being matched, not in front of it. If we put the shade guide in front of the tooth, it will appear lighter, and not behind it because it will appear darker. Shades selected according to manufacturers shade guides or Vita shade guides. Natural light is preferred, which is sunlight. Shade tab is holded near the teeth to be restored and is partially covered with lip or operator thumb. To choose accurate color, small amount of selected color shade material is placed on the tooth in close proximity to the area to be restored and cured. Now, how to do isolation? Isolation of operating field can be done by applying rubber dam or putting cotton rolls with or without a retraction cord. After tooth preparation, shade selection and achieving isolation, the next step is to etch the enamel and dentine surface. For etching, both liquid and gels etchants are available, which are in 32 to 37% in concentration. Acid etching is done for 15 to 30 seconds. It should be of contrasting color for easy visualization. The gel may be applied using a syringe applicator or a brush. Effects of acid etching are dissolution of interprismatic or core enamel, increase in surface area up to 2000 times, etching depth of 10 to 20 micrometer, exposes proteinaceous organic matrix, removes the smear layer which increase the wettability and surface energy, removes 10 micrometer of surface enamel, removes deposits and plaques. In picture you can see when we done tooth preparation, a smear layer is formed over the tooth surface. When we applied etchant, it will remove the smear layer and open the dentine tubules. When we applied adhesive locked within the dentine tubules and form micromechanical bond with the tooth structure. After etching, we can see three patterns of etching. Type 1, preferential removal of rod core. Type 2, preferential removal of rod peripheries. And type 3, irregular and indiscriminate pattern. Now there are different types of etchant we use in dentistry. The most commonly used etchant is phosphoric acid 37%. The other are citric acid 10%, polyacrylic acid 40%, malic acid 10%, nitric acid 2.5%, pyruvic acid plus glycine, hydrochloric acid and lactic acid. Following the etching, it has to be thoroughly rinsed with the water spray for 5 to 15 seconds. Later, the surface should be gently dried with air or cotton pellets. Surface of tooth should be kept slightly moist because overdrying may result in postoperative sensitivity. The etched enamel appears frosty white. After etching and drying the tooth, we will apply bonding agent. Bonding agent are adhesive. Use low viscosity resin which will flow into etched enamel pores and dentinal tubules to form resin tags. Bonding agents act as intermediary or adhesive between the tooth and composite. The bonding agent is applied using a microbrush, as you can see in the picture, for 20 to 30 seconds. Multiple coats of bonding agent should be applied. The manufacturer's instructions are followed regarding the number of coats to be applied and the curing time, usually 20 seconds labially and lingually each. After applying the bonding agent, air dry the surface of tooth. It will remove solvent present in the bonding agent. Bonding agent penetrates the irregularities on enamel and bonds micromechanically by formation of resin tags. On dentine, bonding agent penetrates the collagen network and the dentinal tubules and form bond with the dentine. After it, we will do curing using LED light cure. There are two categories of techniques which are commonly used in curing polymers. One is continuous curing and other one is discontinuous curing. Continuous curing refers to a light cure sequence in which the light is on continuously. There are four types of continuous curing: uniform continuous cure, step cure, ramp cure, high energy pulse. Continuous curing is conducted with halogen, arc and laser lamps. Uniform continuous curing. In uniform continuous curing, intensity is kept uniform over the period of time, as you can see in the graph. It is most familiar method among the dentists. It is carried out by quartz, tungsten, halogen and LED light cure. Next is step curing. In step curing, intensity is increased in sudden step over the period of time, as you can see in the graph. Purpose is to decrease the degree of polymerization shrinkage. Cannot be carried out by plasma arc and argon laser unit. Next is ramp curing. Ramp curing is where the intensity continuously increases over the time. As you can see in the graph, intensity is increases over the period of time. Ramp curing decreases initial stresses and polymerization shrinkage. It cannot be carried out by plasma arc and argon laser unit. In high energy pulse, the high intensity is kept for shorter exposure time. High energy is 1000 to 2800 microwatt per centimeter square, which is irradiance. Used in bonding of ortho brackets. Exposure is just for 8 to 10 seconds. Carried out by plasma arc, argon laser units and third generation of LED light cure. So, after discussing the continuous curing, next is discontinuous cure. Discontinuous cure is also called soft cure, which commonly uses a pulse delay distance from a tooth to initiate a cure, and then moving it close to the restoration for the duration of appropriate exposure. It is carried out by quartz, tungsten, halogen light cure. Okay, after curing the bonding agent for class 2 composite restoration, to rebuild the proximal wall, we will place matrix band. Matrix band is used to provide appropriate proximal contact to prevent major excess of material, especially in the gingival margin. Can be placed prior or after the application of etchant, primer and bonding agent. Matrix band could be in the form of Pylodent, Toffelmayer, polyester strips. In the picture you can see different types of matrix. This is matrix stainless steel matrix band and retainer. This is Pylodent, and this is polyester strips. Okay, after putting the matrix band, next step is insertion of composite resin filling material into the cavity. Insertion of composite can be inserted with the help of hand instruments or syringe or guns. Material is inserted in increments in thickness of 1 to 2 mm, which means the thickness of each increment should not be more than 2 mm. There are 6 different designs of increment placement. Number 1 is 3 increment design. One flat increment, as you can see in the picture. One flat increment at gingival and occlusal wall, and 2 oblique increments both at proximal box, occlusal box. First increment thinner than 1 millimeter. Next design is horizontal layering technique. Small increments placed horizontally one above the other, starting from gingival wall to the occlusal surface, as you can see in the picture on right side. All three increments are horizontal. Next design is oblique layering technique. It is most commonly used design by dentists. Each increment is placed obliquely starting from any side, and curing is done from all three sides, as you can see in the picture on top right side. Increments are placed in oblique direction and cure each increment one by one. Next design is U-shaped layering design. At base, both gingival and occlusal gingival U-shaped increment is given, as you can see in the picture on bottom right side. Next design is vertical layering technique. Increments are placed in vertical fashion starting from one wall and carried on to another wall, and curing is done from behind the walls, as you can see in the picture on top right side. Next is layering technique in the proximal box and curing each increment by inserting the fiber optic microtip into the composite. After filling the cavity with composite resin filling materials, next step is finishing and polishing of composites. Finishing and polishing of composites can be done immediately after placement. Proximal flush is removed by scalpel blade. Areas of difficult access: coats to ultrafine aluminium oxide discs are used to remove excess filling material from the areas of difficult access, like proximal areas. Adjust the occlusal surface and blend the resin to surface by using tungsten carbide bar or fine diamond tips. As you can see, these are fine diamond bars and tungsten carbide bars, and these are rubber cups, and these are aluminum oxide discs. Other system is fine and extra fine polishing paste, silicone based system, silicone carbide, impregnated polishing brushes and points. Important step is rebonding after polishing and finishing. Decreases micro leakage by improving the marginal seal. In this picture you can see different types of carbide bars, rubber cups for polishing of the composite restoration. These are aluminum oxide discs. You can see in the picture on bottom, and up in the picture on top you can see silicone carbide bars and rubber cups. Now next is failure of dental composite. Causes of composite failure are incomplete removal of carious lesion, incomplete etching or incomplete removal of residual acid from tooth surface, excess or deficient application of bonding agent, lack of moisture control, contamination of composite with finger or saliva. Following bulk placement technique during polymerization of composite: improper polymerization method, incomplete finishing and polishing of composite, inadequate occlusion of restored tooth. Failure of composites are commonly seen in composite restoration with time. Following failures are commonly seen in composite restoration with the time. These are discoloration, secondary caries, cross fracture of restoration, post-operative sensitivity, fracture of margins, loss of contact, accumulation of plaque of the surface of restoration. Okay, next is repairing of composite restoration. Restoration is indicated for replacement when any of the following occurs. Number 1, secondary caries which cannot be removed during repair procedure. Need for aesthetics, presence of pulpal pathology, how to repair composite restoration. If restoration is older one, then we have to etch, apply primer and adhesive, and then put composite over it. Bond strength is 50%. If composite restoration is freshly polymerized and if not yet contoured, there is no need to etch or apply primer or adhesive. Just directly place composite over it and cure it by light cure. If contoured and polished has been done, then we have to re-etch the surface, apply the adhesive and apply the composite over the surface. If a patient presents with a composite restoration that has a localized defect, then easily accessible areas may be roughened with the diamond stone. The area is etched, primer may be applied. If dentine is exposed, adhesive is applied. Finally, the composite is inserted, contoured and polished. If the defect is not easily accessible, then a tooth preparation must be created that exposes the defective area, and a matrix may be necessary. Placement of the etchant, primer, adhesive, and then insert composite and polished. If a void is detected, then more composite can be added directly to the void area. These materials will bond because the void area has an oxygen inhibited surface layer that permits composite addition. If, however, any contouring has occurred, the oxygen inhibited layer may be removed and altered, and the area must be re-etched and adhesive is placed before adding more composite. No. No, if we compare amalgam restoration with composite restoration, dental amalgam is a metal-like restorative material composed of a mixture of silver, tin, copper, alloy and mercury. And on the other hand, composite are highly crossed linked polymeric material reinforced by a dispersion of glass, crystalline or resin filler particles or short fibers bound to the matrix by silane coupling agents. In the picture you can see silver amalgam filling is replaced by composite filling and it look more aesthetically good. If we compare the composition of amalgam and composite, dental amalgam is alloy of mercury, tin, silver and copper. It may also contain palladium, zinc, gold to improve the handling characteristics. On the other hand, dental composite are composed of resin matrix, filler particle, coupling agent, activator initiator system, which is required to convert resin to soft moldable filling material to hard durable restoration. If we compare the indications of amalgam and composite restoration, amalgam restoration is usually used for posterior class 1 and 2 cavity which are moderate to large in size. Class 5 preparation when aesthetics is not the prime concern. Core buildup for badly broken down teeth in the posterior teeth, sometimes in distal surface of canine, and for moderate caries control. And composite fillings are indicated when there is any class 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cavity foundation or core buildup has to be done. Aesthetic enhancement procedures has to be done. Partially veneers and full veneers are required. Diastema closure for periodontal splinting. If we compare the contraindication for amalgam and composite restoration, amalgam restoration is contraindicated where aesthetics are prime concern. Extensive loss of tooth structure has been occurred. Small class 1 and class 2 cavities are also contraindication for amalgam restoration. Contraindication for composite restoration are high caries incidence and poor oral hygiene. In this case we will avoid composite restoration. Teeth with heavy or abnormal occlusion stress. In this case we also avoid composite restoration because composite have poor wear resistance. If access and isolation difficult to achieve, then obviously we will do not go for composite restoration. And if patient is allergic or sensitive to resin composite, then we will do not do composite restoration. No. If we compare the advantages of both amalgam and composite, dental amalgam is ease of use, high compressive strength, has high excellent wear resistance, has long-term clinical results. Amalgam restoration is economic. Amalgam restoration can be bonded to tooth structure mechanically. and it has self-sealing ability. On the other hand, composite restoration are more aesthetically good. Conservation of tooth structure, because if there is a small carious lesions, then we have to remove just that carious lesions. There is no need to make a proper cavity, just like in case of amalgam restoration. Composite restorations are insulative. Composite restoration are bonded to tooth structure micromechanically. Composite restoration are repairable. Composite restoration can be polished at the same appointment. If we compare the disadvantages of both amalgam and composite restoration, amalgam restoration has lack of aesthetics. Amalgam restoration has less conservative. Amalgam restoration is less conservative, non-insulating, corrosion and galvanism, lack of reinforcement of weakened tooth structure. On the other hand, disadvantages of composite restoration are more polymerization shrinkage, which results in micro leakage and micro cracks. Composite restoration is time consuming and expensive. It is more technique sensitive, difficult to finish and polish, increased coefficient of thermal expansion. Next is the manipulation of amalgam. First of all, we will do selection of alloy and mercury alloy ratio, which is called proportioning. Then we will do trituration, which could be mechanical or hand trituration. Next is milling. Then next step is condensation, hand or mechanical. Then we will do pre-carving, burnishing. Next step is carving, and then we will do post carving, burnishing, and final step is finishing and polishing. In case of composite restoration, first step is selection of resin composite type and shade, isolation of operating field, pulp protection, adhesive application, matrix band application, wedging, packing, contouring and shaping, polymerization of composite, finishing and polishing, and maintenance. In picture you can compare the preparation of amalgam, tooth preparation of amalgam and composite. Here you can see we have to make proper cavity for amalgam restoration, and in case of composite there is no need to make proper cavity. We have to just remove carious lesions and put composite over it after etching and applying adhesive. If we compare cavity preparation for amalgam and composite restoration, then cavity preparation for amalgam restoration is, the features of cavity preparation for amalgam restoration are 90 degree cavus surface area or margin. The wall must be parallel or perpendicular to occlusal loads. A definitive gingival seat of 1.5 to 2 mm in depth for compound cavities. Rounded internal line angles. Sufficient bulk at the isthmus area. Each portion must have its own independent retention and resistance. In case of composite restoration, the features of tooth preparation will be minimum extension, pulpal and axial wall of varying depth. Enamel should be bevel, butt joint on root surface. Tooth preparation walls must be rough. Cavity design may vary from conventional beveled, conventional modified box shape to facial and lingual slots depending upon the location of carious lesion. This table shows the difference between tooth preparation for amalgam and composite restoration. In the picture you can see tooth with amalgam filling and same tooth with composite filling. Obviously composite filling is more aesthetically good. This is all about today's lecture. Thank you so much.